Well, hello there, my fellow rushers. How are you doing today? King Rexy here, and it's about damn time. Rush Vengeance Reborn is getting another update, and unfortunately, it's not gonna be called Update 10.0. It's gonna be called Update 9.99. I know it seems stupid, but that's just how it is. I want the first anniversary update to be something special, which may or may not be the Soren campaign. Wink, wink. But yeah, a lot of stuff has happened in this update, and as the title suggests, it was quite a rework, to say the least. A lot of stuff was rebalanced, a lot of towers, enemies, heroes, everything you can think of has been rebalanced, so that way the game feels a little bit more fair. Like, for example, I'm gonna tell you some of the big changes, like, for example, the campaign stages. Everything except for the Pirate King's DLC has been reworked in terms of wave composition. So, from the tutorial to the end of the Hammerhead DLC, every campaign stage has been reworked. However, Heroic and Irons are remaining the same, because I want to leave some of the crazy side of Reborns still in, so if you want to see that, just try out the Heroic or Iron challenge. You're not gonna regret it, hopefully. And yeah, one big thing as well is, now the mod is fully compatible with the Pirate King's DLC. The update was supposed to come out a little bit sooner, but due to the DLC messing up the files, I had to, well, fix that, and I got a lot of help from MMLH, so big shout out to him. Another pretty big change is the difficulty scaling. If you remember back in the day, it used to be pretty crazy. Enemies on Veteran would have 40% more HP, and on Impossible they'll have 80%. Now they only have 25% more HP on Veteran and 50% on Impossible. And Casual has been, you could say, buffed a little bit, because now enemies, instead of having 20% less health, only have 10% less health. So yeah, there's that. Everything from the Pirate King's DLC has been reworked, except for the wave composition. Like, enemies, bosses and stuff, they all been reworked, but I haven't really worked on it too much, I must admit. So I think I'm gonna leave the majority of it for the next patch, but we'll see how that's gonna go. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm checking out my changelog at the moment, it's 40 pages, so we're not gonna go through every single little detail, but I guess we can go over some little things. So let's go. First of all, let's talk about enemies. Most of the enemies didn't really need to be reworked all that hard, like, most of them are fine. We're not gonna go through the Pirate King's DLC because every enemy has been reworked and that's a lot of stuff, but let's talk about some of the little changes, like for example from the dwarves. Clockwork Spiders and Cyclopter Pilots have had their HP slightly adjusted by 10 points. Like, Cyclopter Pilot now has 100 HP as opposed to 90, Clockwork Spiders only have 80 HP. The Quarter Worker now has a lot less HP, from 360 to 140, but has 40% armor. And the duration for which they are burrowed underground is increased by a bit. The Stonebeard Geomancer now only has 1000 HP as opposed to 1400, but when he is blocked, he becomes immune to physical damage, so that's gonna be fun to deal with. And yeah, that's gonna be nice. Moving on to Barbarians, the Valkyrie now revives everyone as their original self. So let's say a Berserker dies near her, she's gonna revive him. Not as a Droger, but as another Berserker. And to make her even more annoying, she now has 45% magic resistance and 80% armor. So yeah, have fun with that. The Ice Witch is a lot more tankier, from 390 HP to 530. And she also can summon 3 Drogers instead of Apex Sharks, but the cooldown has been reduced from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. Another interesting thing is that the Northern Berserker restores 50 HP every second, while the Wild Link restores 6 HP every 0.5 seconds, so now you have the passive regeneration to worry about. Linearian enemies have gotten quite a few reworks, not gonna lie. Some of them include the Musketeer. Now the Sniper Shot deals a lot more damage, and the damage type went from physical to explosive, so Dark Knights are not as OP versus them anymore. Guardian Eagles, now, the funny thing about them is they weren't really that interesting to me, they felt like a mid-tier enemy, but now they get 150% bonus movement speed for 3 seconds when an ally unit is near them. So yeah, have fun with that, it's gonna be interesting. The Paladins, they have a new ability. Instead of giving the damage reduction to all units near them, now they only affect themselves with that ability. However, they absorb 15% of the damage that you do to them, and they gain extra health from it. It lasts for 4 seconds, and it has 18 seconds cooldown. So if you mistime your summon pack while they have this thing, yeah, it's not gonna be fun. Also, their Holy Strike damage has been reduced by quite a bit, but it deals true damage instead of magic damage. So there's that. What else is there? Oh yeah, there's also a new unit that you're gonna be facing off on level 14. I'm not gonna go too much into detail as to what it is, but let's just say it's a boss, and he's kind of fun, so hopefully that's gonna be interesting, because in the Linearian campaign, pretty much every level has a boss except for level 14, so I figured, hey, why not add a boss at this point? It's about damn time. So yeah, that's a few things, and I guess I could tell you about the Sworn Defenders. Remember those? Yeah. Well, they have a little bit less HP, from 15,000 to 13,000, but now they have 50% armor and magic resistance as opposed to only 95% armor. Their AoE deals true damage. The cooldown has been reduced by a little, has been increased by a little bit, so I think now it's 12 seconds instead of 9, but it deals a lot more damage. Their basic attack deals explosive damage, or in this case, it ignores 50% armor. So yeah, a lot of things have happened to them. You're gonna have fun with them. Anorians, nothing really. I'm not gonna lie, they really didn't need that much of a rework, mostly just HP adjustments. But one thing that I should mention probably is the infusers can now shield crystal demolishers, which was something that was nothing back in the day. So yeah, there's that. From the Hilo or the Winter Queen mini campaign, nothing much has changed. The Ice Reaper deals magic damage on its basic attack instead of physical. The Winter Bender has a little bit more HP. Frozen Hearts and Frozen Souls give less gold. Winter Lord has a significant HP buff, and that's about it. From the China mini campaign or Rise of the Dragon, again, pretty similar changes. The Mogwai and Demos though have gotten more base movement speed, so now they're a little bit faster. The Nyan has a little bit of a damage increase, and the attack speed has been increased by just a bit. It went from 1.3 to 1 second. The Carnival Dragon and the Golden Dragon is a lot more tankier, so there's that. And the Dragon King has got an HP nerf, but it's not too significant, so it shouldn't be that bad. For the Halloween, now, remember the mummies that come out on wave 15 on level 27? Well, now they're more like a common enemy. You're gonna be facing them up a lot. So, because of that, I had to nerf their stats a little bit. So the mummy has only 500 HP as opposed to 750, Mummy Ra has only 760, but it can summon 3 mummies every 10 seconds, similar to the Lich. The Mummy Ra transformed has only 2500 health, but it has 90% magic resistance, so have fun with that. Vassal's Offspring only has 1700 health as opposed to 2850, and yeah, that's really about it. But one thing I should mention really is every enemy except for I guess the Bone Carrier and the Ancient Ghosts have had their movement speed reduced by 10 points. Because of how spammy the waves are in this area, enemies had to be a little bit slower. As far as the Primal Ravage mini campaign, oh boy, a lot of stuff has happened there. Velociraptors and Cave Dwarves have had their HP skyrocketing, especially the Prehistoric Dwarf. It went from only measly 2000 to whopping 5000. But the Warcry has been nerfed quite a bit. Now, the cooldown is 8 seconds as opposed to 3 seconds, the duration only lasts for 4 seconds as opposed to 6. The movement speed boost has been decreased from 50% to 30%, and they can no longer use the ability while fighting, so stalling them is actually an efficient maneuver. But you have to keep in mind they do over 200 damage on average, so it's kinda hard to do that. What else is there? The Prehistoric War Chief, which is a mini-boss on level 30, he has received a little bit of buffs. He has more movement speed. The damage buff has been increased from 3 times to 5 times. The movement speed though has been reduced to 20% from the boost. And on top of that, he can buff himself with that buff, which is gonna make him even harder. For the Hammerhold, honestly, nothing much. The only thing that had to be changed was the custom enemies on level 34, so stuff like Dark Slayer, Corrupted Knight, Dark Templar, and Trevorian had to be nerfed a little bit, but honestly, you're not gonna notice too many differences. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the enemies. If you want to look into it in more detail, you can just check the changelog that I will leave in the description alongside the link to the mod. But for now, let's move on to the towers. So yeah, as expected, towers had to be reworked a bit, but not all of them, only a few. For example, the Shadow Archer now deals a little bit less damage at tier 1 to tier 3, but at tier 4, it has a 15% chance to apply bleeding on each basic attack. And the bleed deals about 30 true damage per second over 3 seconds, which is like 90 true damage in total, which is pretty nice. The Orc Warriors now restore 1% of their max health every 0.5 seconds, making them a little bit more viable on the later stages, because not gonna lie, they fell off really hard past like the second area. The Infernal Mage now sets enemies on fire, and at tier 4 it can deal 40 true damage over 5 seconds, so it's a slow burn, but it's there. Can't think of it as like the Sorcerer's basic attack, it's kinda like that. Their base damage has been reduced a little bit on the high end, to make them a little to compensate for the additional true damage they deal. The Infernal Portal now is more spammable, but it went from 40 seconds cooldown to 10 seconds, but it doesn't teleport enemies to the start of the level anymore. It only teleports them back by 20 nodes, which is pretty similar to the Arcane Wizard from the original Kingdom Rush. And they can only teleport 4 and then 7 enemies as opposed to 5 to 10. Melting Furnace now no longer stuns on every attack, instead it has a 20% chance to stun on every attack for 2 seconds, which is pretty nice. And the Abrasive Heat at tier 2 has been nerfed by 5%, just to make it the upgrade a little bit more fair. What else is there? Grim Cemetery, they had their HP nerfed a little bit, that's about it. They just got an HP nerf. Gobbler Ranks, now the Headbang slows by 50% for 0.5 seconds on every attack, which is kinda cool. And yeah, that's about it. Rocket Riders, they got some changes. The base cost of the tower has been reduced by a little bit, so it's a little bit more cheaper. Nitro Booster's damage has been reduced. The Defective Engine damage has been reduced. But at tier 4, it gets a significant damage increase. However, it gets a significant attack speed reduction. So in a way, it hits like a truck, but it's very slow attacking. However, the AoE size is massive. We're talking like from 130 AoE to 240. That's a massive increase right there. Orc Shaman got nerfed a little bit. The stun duration went down from 1.6 seconds to 1 second, and the attack speed went up from 1.8 to 2 seconds. The low end damage has been increased a little bit, so it deals more. So the DPS is a little bit more consistent than what it used to be. And for no particular reason whatsoever, the Orc Shaman has been renamed to Orc Mage. Swamp Thing, this is something that I really didn't want to do, but people were forcing me into it. Now you can actually use it as a unit, and it's kind of like a mini raid boss. Like at tier 4, this thing can have a 2880 HP, and it can deal 40 to 100 physical area damage, which is pretty dope. And it also restores 15 HP per second. So it's pretty strong, let's just say that. Blazing Gem, honestly, it got buffed a little bit. I know, why am I buffing one of the most OP towers in the mod? Because I want to. But it's nothing significant. The unstable power just deals a little bit more consistent damage per explosion. And there was a bug where, for some reason, the Blazing Gem wasn't targeting the Sworn Defenders, so that got fixed. Deep Devils, mostly unit nerfs for the Green Fins. They just have less armor per level, but they have shorter respawn rate to compensate. Perfect Storm now deals a lot more damage, and it's more consistent, so that ability is pretty viable now. And they're at tier 3 and tier 4, their damage has been changed a little bit. Shaolin Temple, this tower was giving me trouble a lot because of its perma-stalling abilities. But now, it no longer stuns. I mean it does, but it's like 0.1 second. Like, it's very unnoticeable to see the stun. To compensate though, it has a 0.4 attack speed flat across all ranks, and it does a lot more damage, like a lot of damage. At tier 4, it went up from dealing 25 to 42 to 40 to 50, and it's true damage now instead of physical damage. Why true damage? Because I want to make it somewhat unique. The War Zeppelin, it just got its cost reworked a little bit, so now in total it's a little bit more expensive, but still, I feel like it's fair. And the Goblin Sapper basic attack has been reduced a little bit from 30 to 60 to 20 to 40. Elite Harassers now deal more damage with the Arrow Storm, and it ignores 30% armor per arrow. But that's only on the ability, not the basic attack. Ignisoter is a little bit cheaper, and honestly that's about it. Oh yeah, and it also got its attack speed buffed a little bit, so now instead of every 5 seconds, it shoots every 4 seconds. Sandworm Hollow, the Mucus Gob cooldown has been reduced from 12 seconds to 15 seconds in tier 1. Snack Hour has been increased from 440 gold to 600 because it's pretty OP. I mean, it's an AoE skill anywhere on the map, so I figured that this ability should be a little bit more pricey, but to compensate, the tower is a lot cheaper. What else is there? Oh yeah, the Ogre Shipwreck. This tower has gotten a massive rework, so it's a lot more niche now, but I'm not gonna go into detail. Let's just say that it can deal any type of damage you can think of in the game. I'm gonna leave it to that. And if you want more details, as I mentioned earlier, just check the changelog. So, moving on to the heroes. The heroes, honestly, they didn't really need to be changed all that much. It was mostly just balance changes that need to be done a while ago, but due to me being lazy, I didn't really bother. So, let's start off with Varuk. Aim Slash, it just deals a little bit less damage at tier 1 and tier 3. It was reduced by like 10 points, so it's nothing significant. The goblins that he summons from Inspiring Leader have had their attack speed nerfed by quite a bit. It went from 0.3 to 0.8, so yeah. Azra's Toxic Rain ability deals a lot less damage because of how spammy it was. It was kind of OP. Grosh, his ultimate now deals a little bit more consistent damage, so there's that. Tramen got a couple buffs. The Boombot damage has been increased, the Rocket Barrage damage has been reduced, but the cooldown is a lot shorter. The Bombageddon got buffed, so now it has 5 seconds less cooldown. Rexius, he has his Saurian Cavalier nerfed by quite a bit, at least in terms of HP. It went down from 6000 to only 1500, and yeah. Moloch now has a teleport, because why not? I just wanted to give him a nice little TP over there. And the Fire Comet base damage has been buffed from 66 to 120 to 100 to 135 magic damage. So now it's actually a really strong empowered basic attack that he can use every once in a while. And the ultimate cooldown has been nerfed just a bit, but it's nothing significant. Jigo, he got his Ice Ball damage buffed on the low end, because the damage was a bit inconsistent, and the Ice Zone cooldown has been reduced from 70 to 60 seconds. Mortimus now can actually possess enemies with Call of the Haunted. Instead of making them only walk backwards, now they actually fight for you. So you basically have a portable possession, which is pretty dope. Jack-o'-lantern, he got his teleport buffed, so now it only takes 120 notes instead of 200 for him to teleport. And the Nightmare ability has a new sound effect, which was suggested by one of my fans on Discord. Junpei got his Banner of Courage nerfed a little bit because it was healing way too much. And Terror from the Deep has its cooldown reduced a little bit from 50 seconds to 55. Doomtank finally got his Call of the Valkyrie nerfed. It was about damn time, because like it was one-shotting literally anything. And the way it worked is, the tick time is supposed to be 0.3 seconds, but in the code it's 0.03, so it deals like 10 times more damage than it's supposed to. But now the tick time is only 0.2 seconds, so in total, the damage of it should be roughly about 1000 true damage in a pretty massive area. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good ability now. It's not as broken as it used to be. It's still very strong though. But since it's no longer a one-shot, it had to be buffed a little bit in terms of cooldown. It went down from 100 seconds to only 85 seconds, so it's a little bit more spammable. For Ice Cold, Glacial Storm has higher cooldown, but its freeze duration is a little bit longer, and he is immune to being frozen, which is something I should have done a long time ago, but I just thought about it. Dianian, mostly a nerf to his stun on the basic attack. It went down from 1.5 seconds to only 1 second duration, so it's kinda more difficult to get a perma-stun going with him, but to compensate for that, his Chain Lightning stun duration went up from 0.6 seconds to whopping 4 seconds. So yeah, that's a pretty big buff. Very sad, mostly the Dragon Spawn has been nerfed a little bit. That's about it. Obliterate area damage has been buffed, and Hellfire Wave has been buffed. Because honestly, for being one of the last heroes you're supposed to unlock in the mod, he was kind of underperforming, so I kind of had to buff him a little bit in some places. Murglin, her ultimate now deals only 200 damage per meteor to bosses instead of 600. And that's because, I forgot to mention that earlier, but basically every boss, well, almost every boss, has been nerfed to oblivion in terms of HP. And that's mostly because to make the boss fights last less, because, I mean, think about it. Would you like to sit there for 10 minutes watching how the boss slowly dies? No, you want it to end in like 2, maybe 3 minutes, something like that. So yeah, the boss fights are gonna be a lot shorter, but sweeter. His Fat got his Dark Tempest cooldown increased by a lot. It went up from 60 seconds to 100 seconds, because that ability was kind of OP. 1800 total true damage on top of a slow that can hit any type of enemy. Yeah, it had to be nerfed. Lucerna, the new hero, has been also reworked heavily, so if you want to check her new abilities and stats, just check the changelog, as per usual. Now for the soul upgrades. Soul upgrades, honestly, it was mostly nerfs, I'm not gonna lie, most of them were nerfs. For example, Shield of Protection, that's probably the only buff you're gonna find, or one of the very few buffs. The Shield of Protection now can happen, has a 25% chance of happening instead of 20%, but Second Wind can only happen 20% of the time instead of 25%. Reinforcements nerfed all across the board, mostly due to their Infernal Combustion being too broken. So Demon Goonies only deal 20 true damage instead of 66, the improved ones deal only 40 instead of 99, and so on. It's basically just nerfs all over the board for reinforcements, which is a bit sad, but it had to be done. As far as the soul impact goes, though, it honestly got nerfed just a bit. The damage per impact now is only 100 instead of being between 140 to 160, so in general the damage has been nerfed. However, extra impacts, the first upgrade, has been buffed by quite a bit. Now it gives extra 5 impacts as opposed to 3. In total you're gonna have 10 soul impacts, which is kinda gross, but then again, it's supposed to be like a really strong spell, so why not? If all 10 impacts hit the same target, that's like 1000 true damage, which is pretty dope. However, the extra impact cost has been increased from 4 soul points to 6. Same thing goes for extra specters, it went up from 4 to 6 points. But Soul Echoes is no longer an upgrade, because I figured, hey, RNG is kind of bad, so might as well remove it. And Call of the Damned has had its low-end damage increased from 22 to 36, so the Spectres now deal a little bit more consistent damage. As far as the progression system goes, I've had to rework a couple of things. So Varuk and Azura have been swapped, so you start off with Varuk instead of Azura, which is kind of something I probably should have done earlier. Grosh is unlocked after level 5 instead of level 4. You unlock Melting Furnace after level 6. Grim Cemetery and Dark Knight's position have been swapped, because honestly the Grim Cemetery is, in my opinion at least, weaker than the Dark Knight, so I figured you should unlock them earlier. Rocket Riders are now unlocked after level 12. Orc Shaman is unlocked after level 14, so you get you get an extra tower, which is kinda cool. Junpei and Rexia's positions have been swapped because, honestly, Junpei didn't really feel as good as he should be for being literally the last hero that you unlock from the main campaign, so I had to switch the positions a little bit. In terms of visual changes, there hasn't really been much going on. Mostly the notifications have been updated all across the board, and Otto's Farmlands has been renamed to Jenkins Farmlands, because why not? And yeah, other than that, it was just music changes. Some tracks have been adjusted, others were changed completely. You have to play them out to find out. So yeah, there is that. Mostly that's all that has been done on Reborn. Again, it doesn't seem like all that much, but that's because I'm trying to summarize all the changes, which is kinda hard to do. So yeah. I've also added something a little bit special for anyone who wants to live stream or make videos on the mod and post somewhere. You're gonna find 2 files in the modded folder, and what you're gonna do is you want to replace them, and it's not gonna affect the gameplay, but it's gonna replace all the modded soundtracks with the vanilla ones. So that's gonna be cool, I suppose. Not my favorite change, but hey, Vuduk may or may not be coming back to Reborn, so I had to do this to avoid copyright striking him, because, you know, he's Badusi. We don't want to do him dirty. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully you guys are gonna have fun with the mod. Now, how to access said mod? Just go to my Discord server, and you're gonna find the link there. And maybe you could stay, who knows? We'll see. Well, with that out of the way, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I appreciate you for sticking around to the end. Subscribe if you want to see more of this content in the future. And while you're at it, drop a like on the video. It means a lot to me. And I will see you in the next video. Until it comes, that was King Rexy. Over and out.